Start off the easy question. What are the Saints getting in Taliese Fuaga?
Um, Great young man, really damn good football player. Um, a lot of a lot of positives. Hard worker, competitive, tough, humble, a little bit quiet. Uh, yeah, I, I'm a fan.
Yeah. Coach, where would you say that he is maybe strongest in his game coming into the NFL in terms of being an immediate contributor?
Yeah, I think strongest is just his biggest thing is he's so dang strong. He's just naturally powerful, and guys can lift weights all day. It's the being able to use that strength and to translate it onto the field. He has got phenomenal strength, and as far as positions, he's very flexible position wise. He played right tackle for me. He could easily have been a left tackle for me. We just had a guy who'd been there longer, and that's the only reason he was at the right side. I know people had talked about putting him at guard. He could be successful there. The type of kid he is, he'll work his butt off to be great wherever he is.
Jim, how long did you work with him at Oregon State?
I guess we have him 4 years.
So you were there for his whole time?
Yeah, recruited him and he got stuck with me for 4 years.
Uh, just out of curiosity, what did you like? How did you see him just approach the development side of things and kind of like the commitment to getting to the stage where he's going to be a 14th overall pick?
Yeah, the maturity. I've coached a long time, and there's very few guys. He's kind of in that elite group. The maturity to practice every day in a way that's going to translate to the game. A lot of guys go through practice and they don't have the focus. They don't have the determination, the drive to understand that this rep is the most important rep to get ready for the game. He was phenomenal this year. He's really stepped up and became a leader on our team. He's a quiet guy, which you guys will get to know soon. But he's very sharp, very smart. Get him talking. He's got a great personality, and you get a laugh out of him. It's pretty cool.
You know, Dennis described him last night as kind of like the Dennis Allen, the Saints head coach, described him as kind of like having a culture building type of personality, and that was evident to them, just in their brief meetings with him. What does that mean to you when you hear that sort of thing?
Oh, I think it's right on. I think his talent is way up there, but it's more than that. It's his work ethic. It's the maturity. The guys on the team, like I say, he's a little quiet, but the guys on the team like him and respect him. I think he's that guy that people kind of follow without saying a lot. One of the stories when I recruited him and on high school, I went to his high school to find out more about him. And one of the stories they told me was that after school, before practice, all the kids would be hanging out in the quad and they'd all be joking around. Then all of a sudden, Tolly would just start walking towards the football field and everybody would follow him. He wouldn't say a word. He just kind of has that leadership abilities.
One of the things he told us was that he really tried to focus on becoming more of a nasty player over his time. Just how did you kind of see that side of him develop?
Oh, I think I think he understands that, he has those physical tools, but then developing the technique and then being able to play fast. And the biggest transition from high school to college and from college to the NFL is the speed of the game. And so everything he did, that's what I was kind of alluding to earlier, every rep he does, he's doing it at game tempo. He's doing it, to go and to be physical and to be a violent player. And so it's pretty, watching him, when scouts came around and there's not, you couldn't say any bad things. It's just, hey, watch him practice, watch the maturity, watch those things. And I know he really impressed people through the interview process for the draft of his football knowledge and how he studies players and all those things. So it's top notch.
Coach, he played defensive line in high school too. It was always offensive line for him. First
For
time,
us,
was there any consideration?
I want to say we might have thrown him in there once or something on a goal line deal, or he was on rushing field goals, trying to block field goals. But no, I wasn't gonna let him. We weren't gonna let him go on defense. He needed to stay right where he was.
Taliese kind of talked about how wide zone was Oregon State's bread and butter. How do you feel that that helps prepare him for the next level, especially in an offense here that's trying to implement their version of that same offense?
Yeah, and I think it's as you look at the NFL, it's expanding and growing every year in the league. Um, I think his transition from our type of program will be much easier than if it was from you know, uh, maybe another college program. Um, he understands the concepts. Obviously, it's tweaks and it's at a higher level, but I think that part of it's going to fit well. And I think that's what helped him is he could show on film how he can play and how he fits, and he's doing those blocks. The scouts, the coaches, the personnel people didn't have to, well, we think he can do this. They could actually see him doing it and doing it well.
What are some of the things about how he studies and prepares and absorbs knowledge that stand out and kind of impress you?
Just sharp, smart. You always talk about how long, how does a guy learn? How does he pick it up? He gets it right away. He picks things up. Like I said, he's quiet, but he's always taking everything in. He studies film. I know he studied a lot of Panay Sewell, just his pass blocking and those things. And I think he tried to emulate some of those things that he did. Um, I like I said, you get a smart, good athlete, but you put that brain with them, you get something special.
When you think about his physicality, is there a game or play that really kind of emphasizes that?
Well, he got called for a penalty one time when he ran the linebacker over and drilled him into the ground. I think there was every game you kind of looked at it and said, "Ooh, wow, that's pretty cool." And again, that's explosive. And even you saw that in high school. He didn't play on the best high school team, but he's got that power that in his body.
Yeah, when you're recruiting him, like
they felt it.
Do you see that right away? Like in high school, when did you kind of first realize, like, oh man, there's something there?
Well, I think we study thousands of kids, right? And he did some things. I actually liked his defensive film better as an offensive lineman, just that the way he moved, the quickness, the change of direction, and those things. Once he got here, or once he got to Oregon State, in a little bit of time, you're like, okay, this guy could be special if he's got the right attitude, and he far exceeded that.
Jim, you were on him pretty early in the recruiting process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just for a college coach, when you're on a kid, maybe before his recruitment starts to kind of pick up a little bit, what does it say about the kid when he ends up kind of sticking to his commitment?
One thing about Tully is he's not a guy that's a lot of you're talking about 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, and sometimes the recruiting, the validation they get, the reading stories about themselves and this and that, and comparing themselves to other players. That's not him. He was never into the recruiting process. It was kind of the opposite. It was kind of the same way. He just wants to be a good football player. He doesn't care about rankings and those things. And we talk a lot about keeping the main thing, and Tolly does amazing job of that.
Coach, what were you doing when you found out about the news about him going first round, and have you talked to him since?
I haven't talked to him since yet. I imagine you guys are keeping him a little bit busy. We'll talk when it slows down. We talked a lot. He's probably a little sick of me too. But we'll talk here sometime soon. And we were watching. I was over at our offensive coordinator. We were sitting there watching the guy a little bit later over here than we were used to. And it was just happy to see him go. I think New Orleans is like truly blessed to get him. I think he's a heck of a young man. I hope you guys get to know the personality of who he is. Again, he's a little bit quiet, but he'll open up over time.
He said he was watching yesterday with like 100 family members. Have you? What are your impressions of his family, and specifically, I guess, his brothers too? Maybe playing an influence there. If you saw that at all.
I think wonderful people. I've met a little bit of his brothers, sister, not much. I've talked to his parents many times, recruited them, got to know them. They're wonderful people. I think they've, instilled some great values in Tolly. Tolly makes great decisions and picks great friends, and I think a lot of that comes through his family. Family's important. I think that's it is huge, and it kind of says a lot to who he is.